All right, and we're back. Taking a little bit of a hiatus. I know that we were doing these live streams every Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. California time for a good while. We had a good run, huh, JR? We did 2 or 3 weeks in a row, didn't miss any days. And then a couple things happened. One, I booked a commercial and we got busy doing that, so we had to take a day or two off. And then a lot of things in the world happened. And it just didn't feel right coming back and doing this when a lot of that stuff was going on in the world. We were like everyone really glued to what was happening in the news. And although I do think that barbecue played a big role, and we're going to talk about that today, even on the Sunday of my birthday, I felt just so sad from watching the news, on the heels of everything that's been happening the past few months with the quarantine. And I just wanted to do something to not just lift my spirits, but, everyone around me. So I cooked a ton of food on my birthday and just gave it away to my neighbors and my friends, anyone who could use a plate, really. And that was a page I took out of today's guest's book, because I had him on the podcast a few weeks ago, and we talked a lot about some of the charitable and stuff that he does with his barbecue. So I'm going to bring him in right now. I'm not going to waste any more time, and then we can kind of set the stage here a little bit. Today's guest is from Atlanta, Georgia, new friend of mine. I would say immediate best friends, if I'm not misspeaking here, Rasheed.
I agree.
But I had you on my podcast a couple weeks back. If you guys didn't listen to it, feel free, go back, check it out. It was a great episode. And listening to Rasheed talk, I immediately could tell he was a dude who just, wore his heart on his sleeve and was an insightful guy and a guy who really cares about his community. And when everything was going on the past, week and a half since, George Floyd's murder and the ensuing protests and riots and everything that took place, Rasheed was being very open and very vulnerable, which I appreciated, and very passionate about it on his Instagram stories. And Rasheed, I haven't done one of these live streams. Even when we did the podcast, that was when we were just, the biggest thing on our mind was, quarantining. And we were talking all about, barbecue in the quarantine area. And then now this happened, and I just didn't feel right coming on and doing my live stream, even though I told you we'd come and I'd have a beer and we'd talk more barbecue and this. It's just been weird to navigate, man. So thank you for coming on with me again, because this makes it feel right. Like, not just ignoring it and then going about my life, but to talk about it a little bit and let people, acknowledge that, hey, that stuff's going on. And then maybe, we can move on to barbecue stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. And, I appreciate you taking the time, brother. Not a lot of people care. We've been talking about everything that's been happening and the effect, and just you taking the time to do this. I know, once again, congratulations on your anniversary. You're big little guy, his birthday. There's just a lot of things, and you've got all of these personal life events happening, and yet you still care about something that may not be immediately affecting you, but affecting those you care about. And that speaks volumes. So thank you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust me. I feel like it hit home this time for a lot of people who maybe had an easier time compartmentalizing in the past when things like this have happened. I think a lot of times, and whether it's because we're all focused because of the quarantine, we didn't have distractions, or because this one was caught on tape so horrifically, whatever it was, I think a lot of people, like you said, who maybe it doesn't affect their life as directly, couldn't really take this one and just say, well, maybe he deserved it, or maybe it's not happening in my neighborhood. This one was a real, I think, eye-opener for a lot of people in the world.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I know for me, watching the 8 minutes and 46 seconds was probably the hardest 8 minutes and 46 seconds of my life. It was gut-wrenching because I didn't watch it at first, and I had to tell myself, his family's going through so much worse. I at least owe it to his memory and them to sit down and accept what this is. I can't turn away from it because George looks like me. Big, muscular black guy. I just have longer hair. And watching that video, and then when it came upon the time of him, asking for his mother, who's passed, brother. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough, and I honestly believe people keep asking, when is this going to end? I feel like it's a horrible question. I think what they need to say is, or understand is, if you've watched this video, it's not going to end until permanent change has been established. There's literally no way you can ever watch this video and say, oh, all right, this is just not a big deal. This isn't anything at all. And I'm like, this is going to happen. This is going to keep going on, and it needs to keep happening until something changes. But I'm glad we're able to have this discussion in a safe space. No one's judging anyone. No one's bashing anyone. No one's saying anyone's better than anyone. We're just trying to have a conversation and communicate and see if we can get some action going.
Yeah, and I think that that's been a difference too. Well, I mean, unfortunately, it's going to always happen where it gets politicized, and rightly so. And there's a lot of crossover, but it makes me sad when people can't separate the two. When their only answer or the only way they can discuss this kind of stuff is through politics. Like, oh, it's this person's fault, not that person's fault. Let's deal with it from a human empathy standpoint first and foremost, and then worry about the politics of change and whether it's incited or made worse, and the riots and the protests. Like, that's the political side. But at the root of it is the human element of that police officer didn't know George Floyd's past, and now it's saying he might have, which makes it worse. But when the police officer makes that decision, who's in a position of authority, especially on the heels of the Breonna Taylor and Arbery and all these other recent cases,
And
let's deal with it. Why aren't you more sad about someone dying as opposed to it being politicized?
Yeah. I don't understand it. I generally don't, that people are putting so much more importance on that it being politicized, and even the properties. There's some people who are saying, well, what about the business owners, this and that? I've spoken to business owners who have seen my morning motivations and have told me that part helps them cope because their business was hurt, but they understand why. They have insurance. They don't care. They're like, if it needs to be destroyed to help make change for generations, fine. And that's the level of thinking that will help. I can't feel sad about 4 walls and glass, nails, hammers, $250 at Home Depot. I can't be upset about that. I get someone built it, but the root cause of why that's happening is so much greater than someone smashing a window. You can only be peaceful for so long, kneel for so long, Black Lives Matter for so long, do so much without and continuously being dismissed before you lose it. There's no way. The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. This is us not doing the same thing anymore.
And I bet you that a lot of the people who are saying like, well, why can't you protest that peacefully? If you were to scroll back a few years, I bet it's the same people who were complaining about the peaceful protests during NFL games. It's like, well, we were trying to protest peacefully.
People tried. People tried to do it over and over again, and no one listened. And now is no longer the time for action. It's going to be time for, or it's no longer time for discussion. It's just action. Yeah.
And I think it's important that people make a distinction between protesting and rioting. Sure, there's always crossover, and sure, there's always, the few that represent the masses. But overall, man, I think the people who are really going out and being vocal and want to be heard aren't being destructive. It's just people that are hurt. And I wouldn't even blame, like you said, someone who broke a window because they're that hurt. I mean, I think that's easier to understand than a lot of other things. But the people who are going into Nike store and are, just like very organized in stealing stuff, those aren't the people who are really protesting what happened. That's people who are taking advantage of a terrible situation. And also, in your hometown where you live in Atlanta, there was another incident the past 2 nights where another thing happened at Wendy's there, right? And the Wendy's was set on fire. Someone filmed it. It wasn't even one of the people protesting that set it on fire. It was a random white lady who came in and was setting the Wendy's on fire. So there's a lot of protagonists out there that don't even have anything to do with the cause or the movement.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who just want all burn instead of trying to help and add to the chaos, because everyone's focused on people who look like me making bad decisions or making things worse. No one's going to look at a little lady coming up. Oh, all right, well, burn this place down. And
Yeah.
either way, it happened. But the fact that you have to, it's just hard, brother. I'm not gonna lie. Like, everything aside, it is hard. It is hard for me to get up in the mornings. It is hard for me to remain positive. It's hard for me. I run every morning. I run 3 miles every morning. My mom calls me every single morning. I get up early to do my runs. My mom calls me every single morning to make sure I made it back home. Every day. I have my farewells to friends are no longer, I'll talk to you later or see you soon. It's watch your back. Keep your head up. Hey, call me. You know, are you good? You went somewhere, I didn't hear from you. You're in that area. What happened? You know, it's becoming hard to be Black.
You know, we have all these discussions about, you know, we use the buzzwords, you know, liberty and freedom and honor, and you're honoring the troops. And what does all that stuff matter if you're living somewhere where your mother has to worry about you having a safe jog in the morning? I mean, I think that should be the root of what makes our country really great. And you know, I understand that there are places in the world, because of their governments and because of, you know, the geography of where they are, that, yeah, man, it's a scary world. You know, there's a lot of dangers out there. But America, as a democracy, as a land of the free, and all those buzzwords, your most basic right should be going for a jog and not having your mom be scared.
It's the little things that that a lot of people don't understand. One of my close friends, his son is my godson, and son looks just like him, blonde hair, blue eyes. Mom's Mexican. We'll never be able to tell. We'll never be able to tell when you look at the son. But I was trying to explain to him why his son will never have to worry about certain things like driving. He's like, "What's the big deal with driving?" I said, "You get in your truck and you go." He's got a big red truck just like me. I get in my truck, I take my pocket knife off and I put it in the center console. I take my wallet out and I make sure it's on the dash, easily visible. I double check and make sure I have all my paperwork and everything. Then I go. He's like, "Why do you do that?" Because if I move too fast to go for anything, there's a problem. I have to make sure everything's in sight, point there. I've been pulled over before. I've had run-ins with the cops. Nothing ever illegal. I've never been arrested, nothing like that. But every experience I've ever had has been a horrible one. The only reason I'm not fully jaded is 2 of my best friends growing up are cops. And it gives me peace knowing that there are 2 really good guys out there that look nothing like me, that I know would never let something that has happened in the past like this happen if it was going on in front of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking down as I talk to you because I'm reading comments from people that are watching. And my buddy Gary Graham is watching, and I've had a lot of the same conversations with him, recently. Because like you said, because of your appearance, he's a very large Black man. And, just the fact that he is it changes people's perception, if you approach or whatever who aren't tolerant. And I just think that's such a burden when it shouldn't be, man. He just commented and he wrote, Martin, Malcolm, Megger all did it differently and all were killed because folks hated them. And then on a lighter note, Mikey Winfield, our mutual friend, said, "Yo, Mikey Winfield says what." But so anyways, on that subject of looking like you, it had to be driven even more home when the news came out about David McAtee in Louisville. And here's a barbecue guy who, just like you, uses his barbecue skill, uses his craft to give back to the community, cooks for cops, cooks for firefighters, gives barbecue away to a lot of people. Just like I was talking to you about 2 weeks ago about how you like to do that and make your barbecue a blessing. And then within all the chaos, he ended up dead.
And that really hit home because the barbecue community is really small, but the Black barbecue community is smaller. And knowing David and knowing what happened, it was like, it shook me because that was as close to it being me as it could be without it actually being myself. Literally doing the same thing I do week in, week out, going and feeding protesters, feeding police officers, feeding fire departments, not doing donations or collecting anything. No, this is just me. This is literally me and my business fronting it. I don't have Kingsford sponsorships. I don't have Smithfield sponsorships. This is me taking the money out of my own pocket, is taking it and going to go do good and say, hey, I want you to know that despite all the craziness that's going on in the world, people out there still care. I'm one of them. I want you to know a good deed because you may not be getting thanked. And this is the best way I know how to say thank you. And then to have someone who's been doing this for officers for years then get murdered, as it would be, by the same officers you're helping, it just goes to show you, like, what's the whole point? Like, I have an event that's supposed to go on end of this month, a Hops for Heroes event, and I'm battling back and forth with it. I really am, because I don't know if I can do it. I really don't. I don't want to get shot at my own event. That's a very, it's sad, but it is a very realistic thing. I don't want to get harmed at my own event. I don't want to not make it back home. I've been feeding officers despite, David's passing, and my head is constantly on a swivel. I wear my shirts and I'm wearing a highlighted neon vest. I'm keeping my hands to the side. I stopped bringing my black bags for the food, and I just bring them in the paper bags themselves so people see it. I'm doing so many things against what I was normally doing just to keep doing good and putting good out there. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like right now, I think more than ever, that feeling is stronger than ever. I'm sure that doubt, that fear. But I mean, I would encourage you to do what you do, man. Like, don't let it deter you. You doing that and building relationships with, officers in your community, and allowing them an opportunity to build relationships within their community only helps, man. And, just because there's obviously need in the world for, some sort of reform, some sort of change, where we find, the guys who are, or train the guys, or eliminate the people who are getting to authoritative positions, who think with a bigoted lens. That doesn't mean that they're all like that, man. And I'm sure you've met way more people that actually are heroes in law enforcement than you have these ones that are, are ones worth being scared of. So I would encourage you to do it, man. It's a powerful thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm trying. I'm just trying to stay positive with it. Which part, like you said earlier, the morning talks are really me talking to myself, trying to get myself motivated throughout the day. And I just happen to share it publicly so that if there are others going through it, they understand that they're not alone. Because sometimes just knowing someone else is feeling what you're feeling can help you get better and change your whole dynamic in your whole day. That's why I try to have people start with that. There's so much craziness right when you wake up, so much negativity that's flooded. It can set your whole mood off, your whole mindset, and that rolls on. And you keep getting pounded with that type of negative information. It takes a toll on you. Time's already hard. You're already quarantined. You're already 6 feet away from people. You can't go see your family. You can't hang out with your friends and like you used to. And then you have to put all of this craziness of if you're white or black. And then even if you are white, I have a buddy who did multiple tours, and people are harassing his wife, screaming white privilege. Like, you don't know what he's going through. You don't know that he suffers from various things because he was defending our country, no matter what color you look. Like, I'm not here to say, hey, I'm black, come support, rah, rah, rah. I'm saying, no, we're just one people. Let's figure this out together and move forward.
Well, and I truly hope that that's something that comes out of this particular, not that it's happened over and over and over again. There's always been protests, and it's like you said, it seemed like it happened, and then we go back to our lives. And I feel and I hope and I pray that this one was a little different, that whether it's the quarantine or whether the fact, like I said, that the video was so horrific, I feel like we're having the conversations. Well, let me back up. The people who need to hear the conversations are hopefully hearing them more now than they have in the past. Because the people that whose heart was already aware of these things, I think, they already know. They're already the people that are trying to make positive change. It's the people who don't necessarily realize they need to hear it. And that doesn't mean you're bad people. Doesn't mean that it's a racist or a bigot, or sometimes it's people who just are in their bubble and they're not aware that, my friend Rasheed has to worry when he goes jogging in the morning, whether he's going to get home at night. And he's not a paranoid person. It's just his reality. They don't realize that my friend Gary, even though his father was, a police chief and all that, he even sometimes is fearful around police, they just don't realize it's not part of their life. And I just think that now, hopefully through these conversations, more people are aware of that. It's one little small step further towards understanding each other's point of view. And, that's what I love about barbecue too, man, is the community. Like you said, we're bonded by the food. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, poor, rich, have a big brick and mortar or a trailer on the side of the gas station. Like, when you see someone who legit knows barbecue, we're friends. You know what I mean? And same thing with, on a different community I'm a part of. I love the sport of water polo. I have a water polo podcast. We did a podcast about that with a roundtable the other day, and we had a bunch of different views and people with different backgrounds and different, with different people of color on. With different backgrounds and ethnicities. And we talked about it. And, we didn't solve the world, just like I don't expect to solve all the problems here talking with you. But the point is, have a conversation, whether it's the sport, it's barbecue, it's your company that you work in, it's your family, whatever it is. Just say, hey, man, are we doing things right here? Hey, have I ever been ignorant to anything? Or, hey, am I missing something here? Or, hey, how do you feel about it? And I felt like that's what you were doing with your Instagram live, and I appreciated it.
Oh, no, I thank you, brother. I really am. I'm not better than anyone. I'm no political activist. I'm no rah-rah. I'm just someone who is tired of having my mom call me to make sure I've made it home. I'm tired of telling my friends, watch your back or you get pulled calling me. I'm tired of waking up losing people who look like me. I'm tired of the violence. I'm tired overall, and I want to make change. And the only way I can just sit and brood about it, but if I can at least get out there and do something, talk about it, have platforms like what we've got right here, where people can come in and speak their minds safely, share thoughts. I'm all about it. We've just got to do better than what's been going on. And it's a lot of pressure, man. I'm hoping that these protests, these rallies don't stop, because change needs to happen. We can't continue on, because if for some reason this stops, whatever the next one is going to be so much worse that the people who have the power to make a change, it's going to be too late. It's going to be, you've ran out of options at this point, and it's going to be complete chaos, necessary chaos, but chaos nonetheless.
What can we keep doing in our own lives, man, other than having these conversations? Through barbecue, the easy answer is just feed people, right? And allow people to connect and build community that way, for sure.
Yeah. I'd say check on your friends, not just your friends of color, just everyone. Try to invite people and have a talk it out. Hey, you doing all right? Have you heard? Or try to put something together. Try to schedule, or try to put something in your neighborhood. Start small. Just start in your own neighborhood. Find out where everyone's head is at. See who wants to help but isn't sure how to help either. Reach out to your local NAACP chapters. Reach out to your local minority community leaders and see, like, what do they need? Do they need financial support? Do they need marketing support? Do they need just people to talk to others, because people are going through things? They just need to know that someone cares outside of them. That can go a long way too. You don't have to do a lot to make a huge impactful change. You just have to have the will to do so. It's really simple. That's the big thing. I found sharing the vulnerability and sharing the thoughts of it all really helps others. So that's why I do it. Even today, I had a friend of mine mention something that's going on that she was just like, check on me this week because it's about to be rough. She's aware because of her line of work that things are about to shift and really mess with her this week. And she's like, just please keep an eye out for me. Check in on me, make sure I'm doing okay. All right, I can do that. I can do that. And the fact that she reached out and told me to do so, I'm going to make sure hell or high water. Hey, you okay? I heard it today. What happened? Where's your mind at? You need to talk? You want to go for a walk? I welcome anyone who wants to come and walk with me, who wants to come run with me, who wants to DM me, chat. Let's just talk. I've sadly lost a friend during this who decided that he didn't think anyone wanted to talk and only had one way out. And I would much rather have heard his story than having to attend his funeral. But that's how his story ended. And I please, if you know anyone who just wants to talk or have a conversation or isn't well, I am open. I don't care what time of day it is. I'm up cooking any which way. I could use I could use the company. Let's move forward together. Let's do better together. Let's let everyone know that we care about them as a whole, whether you're white or black or whatever you are.
Yeah, if you ever need to talk to someone at 4 a.m, Pitmaster is a good person to call. Chances are they're up and checking the fire anyways, right?
That is very true. We've got nothing but smoke to roll at that point in time. So just please call. We're bored. We're listening to blues or jazz or something. So give us a call.
And that was the the angle I took when I did the barbecue for my birthday. I didn't invite like one single person. Like I didn't target one single person to invite. Like, there wasn't a single person I texted and said, "Hey, come by, it's my birthday." I just literally put it up on Facebook and up on Instagram, and I said, "If you live anywhere in the LA area, I'm going to be cooking all day Sunday. Come by anytime after 2 p.m. if you need a plate of barbecue, a beer, or a friend to talk to." And I was like, even if you feel uncomfortable being in the group or whatever, my house is set up. Like I have a wall right here to my left, Rasheed, and it's the sidewalk on my front yard. My whole barbecue setup's in my front yard. So, a lot of people came and just grabbed a beer and a plate and stayed out on the sidewalk, but they could still talk and converse. And that's what and that was even before this all came to this was all just happening at that time, right? So now I feel like there's even more people out there, like you said, who could really use someone to talk to. But I was just motivated even by the quarantine. We're getting to the point where everyone was getting really antsy. So, sometimes it's hard to like call someone and say like, "Hey, are you okay?" Because you don't want to be like accusing them of being depressed or something, But I think if you just, if you're worried about it that way, then just say, "Hey, it's open, come by," and then people will hear it if they need to.
That's the best way. Everyone's got to eat. If you want a beer, if you drink, come on, let's have a beer. And that's part of what I'm trying to get going. I have some amazing supporters, because I don't followers, I don't care, but I have some amazing true supporters who have come together and have raised funds that they want to give me to do a give back for what I've been doing. And I want to use those funds to just put on the biggest barbecue I can and just say, "Hey, just come." I have enough connections at breweries where I'm pretty sure I can get a couple of them to donate some pallets of beer and just have a barbecue. Come grab a plate, come talk, whatever you want to do, just come on by. This is a safe space. You don't have to worry about anything. If you're just coming for the food, come for the food. If you're coming for the beer, great. If you're coming for the conversation, we can talk about anything. We can talk about what's happening. We can talk about lack of sports. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but let's just communicate something together. And I'm not a world famous any. I don't have any pull. I'm not loaded, but it doesn't take a ton to have that impact. And just doing those little things can really help change somebody's perspective. the saddest part of everything that I've felt in the last week and a half, one of my great supporters and customers, their daughter thought that David was me.
Oh,
And oh my gosh, it broke my heart.
I mean, I got to tell you, Rasheed, he looks like you, buddy. You know, he's a tall dude. He had dreads just like you. You know, like his hair and braids just like you, man. He looked like you, bro. And then when they started talking about how he, you know, fed the community and everything, I mean, I knew it wasn't you because I saw his name right away. And, you know, I didn't think you'd be in Louisville for anything, but it's where my brain went. I was like, oh my God, it could have been Rasheed. Dude,
Yeah. And if you took away the name in the photo and you didn't put where it was, you would think it was me.
yeah. And that's
who feeds the community and gives back to fire department and police shot.
And can I tell you, man, you already mentioned this, but that's what I've heard over and over again, talking to my friends, you know, to all my African-American buddies over the past couple of weeks about this stuff, is they all say the same thing. It could have been me. And that's why it hurts them. You know, they just sit there and go, well, look, people want to say all this stuff about George Floyd. Oh, he's this and he's that, and he's a criminal or whatever. But they just look at it and say, the cop didn't know that. It could have been me. I've heard that phrase so much over the past week.
And some people don't understand that phrase because they think we're making it about us. And I had to put up a video because I had an acquaintance. She just wasn't understanding the gravity of all of this. So she sort of inspired my video that day. And I said, what if it was me? If you've ever met me, if you've ever had any encounter with me, I've left some sort of impression on you. I'm hard to forget and hard to miss. So there's something that you would remember seeing my face if that had ended up being me. And knowing me, how would you feel? How would you feel knowing that someone rested their body weight on my neck for 8 minutes, 46 seconds? How would you feel knowing that I was shot, giving back to the community, something that had once inspired you? How would you feel? Put a face to it, because it's very easy to turn a blind eye when you don't directly know the person. We're like, oh, well, I don't really know anyone that even looks like them remotely, or does he do anything that they do? But I wanted people to envision that it was me that was lost, that it was me that is a hashtag that is on shirts that Reverend Al Sharpton has to say words to, that is a funeral you have to try to figure out, you know, how are you going to attend because I had that impact on you. If that was me, now do you understand why people are rebelling and protesting and rallying, and a very small percentage are, you know, causing riots? But do you get why everyone's doing what they're doing now? Because you have a face to connect it to you.
Yeah, 100%, man. And, you know, like I said, I don't think we're going to solve the world's problems. It just helps to have the discussion and to allow people to relate with what you're feeling and what I'm feeling. But I would say, you know, look, we're bonded by barbecue, and this is traditionally a barbecue show. And I would say, for the barbecue fans and pitmasters out there, use your talent to make a difference, like Rasheed does. You know, cook for police officers, cook for first responders and medical personnel in your community who make a difference, and let them see, when they see a 6'5", you know, tall, imposing black man, you know, they look at him and they say, man, this guy's, what a heart, what a tremendous human being this guy is. And now that's their reaction. If they were ignorant before, that's what they associate, you know, seeing a big black man, like you said, with, you know, and also allow them a chance to connect with the community, man. You know, food bonds us all. The more that we know our officers, and not only that, the majority of officers out there truly deserve the reward. They deserve the barbecue, because they're out there doing great work protecting the community, and they're being made look bad, and their jobs being made harder by these, you know, these short-sighted assholes. So I would say that. And then I've heard a lot of people too about, oh, well, you know, this is a criminal and he deserved it and all that, you know, that terrible stuff. Well, look, if that really bothers you and if you really think that's true, and you have a barbecue place, why don't you take a kid who might not have a lot of chances in life, and teach him how to cook. Invite him to come apprentice under you. Give him a skill where he can grow up and be someone who contributes to the community and to society. And then you will have made a difference. Even if it's just that one kid, it will spider out, it'll branch out. And there's no excuse that you can't make a difference. So if it bothers you enough to rant on Facebook, and it bothers you enough to where you have to have a snapback for everything that somebody is trying to tell you and you're not listening, do something about it.
Exactly. Make a change. If you're saying this, and he did this, well, find some, teach them a craft, a trade, get them off the streets. If you own a restaurant, why don't you set up a program? I can't wait to get a brick and mortar because I grew up on the Pizza Hut book reading challenges, read a book, get a personal pan. That is the first thing I want to implement when I get doors to my place. Read books, come by, get a free meal. It's on me. I want you to be able to work for whatever you're getting. My barber has been doing my hair, cut my hair for over 15 years. And he's always had the same summer program for kids. You can come to the shop, sign a day. You come that day, you sweep the floor, you tidy up. No matter how old you get a little bit of money. You get tips, you get information. You don't know how big that is to kids. That help, that establishing some responsibility and letting them know that someone cares for them and is willing to give them a shot. That's all it really takes. I mentioned it before, and I can never thank him enough. Brian Furman of Beast Crackling Barbecue, he gifted me Pearl. Pearl's a beast of a smoker. You've seen her.
Yeah.
And I was already doing give backs and doing events, but for him to take that time and see something within me where he said, hey, I'm going to do this for you. I want absolutely nothing. And he hates when I tell people. It makes a change. And that's why I want to keep paying that forward, because you can keep having that positive impact. And it may be something so minuscule to you, but it can have the biggest impact on someone, So if you're a barbecuer out there, if you're a caterer, if you're a cook, if you're anything with a trade, try to go to your local Boys and Girls Club. Try to talk to you don't have any kids? Cool. Talk to your sister, your brother with kids, and ask their friends if they want to learn something. You fix cars, invite them over, teach them what the tools are. Just try to pass something along that may spark some interest that can help give anyone a chance or a leg up to make better decisions. Just showing that you care.
100%, man. And it's also a big reason why I enjoy coaching, because it's about having people in your life that you want to make proud, and having someone who, even if kids have great parents or in a great situation, because I've coached kids on all ends of the spectrum, and I've coached kids from very well-off families, and I've coached kids from families who their parents weren't around, and it doesn't matter. They all need an adult voice, an adult mentor outside of their house, right? Because there's certain things mom and dad do, and I pray that my kids have these same people in their life, and I'm grateful for the ones that are those people to my kids. Because sometimes mom and dad tell you something, and you think, well, you're my mom or dad, you have to tell me that. But when they are, working and helping Rasheed, tend at his brick and mortar, and they see Rasheed mopping the floor because he's taking pride in his business, then that is something where they take notice and they go, oh man, I want to be like that. I see his employees respect him because Rasheed does it. Whereas if their parents were telling them, hey, you should mop the floor, they'd be like, oh, it's just my parents telling me to mop the floor,
I don't mop the floor, So no, it's not I'll always pride myself as I'm not going to ever ask you to do something I'm not going to do myself or have done. I'm never going to be above mopping the floor. Never going to be above cleaning out a smoker, nothing, because that's what has to be done. It's integrity, it's responsibility. It shows that we're all the same, from CEO to the janitor. That's it.
And that's why you would be an awesome mentor. And I can't wait for you to get your brick and mortar. And I offer any help I can to help you get a program like that going, dude. I think that's an awesome idea. And hats off to your barber, no pun intended. That's cool that he did that for you growing up. That's really neat.
It is. It's amazing. It really is. And I just want to thank you again, man, for putting this together on your platform. Some people may dig it, some people may not, but I still appreciate you wanting to share and letting me speak and let other people chime in and realize, hey, can make a change. It's really, really easy. Just listen, take a step, do something. Do something this week. That's all I'd ask anybody who's tuned in or that will rewatch this or is listening now, whenever you get to it. Do something this week to help someone else. I don't care who or what they look like, what color they are. Do something else to help someone else this weekend or this week that you might not have otherwise done. If you're already helping others, bring someone else in to help you help them. Show them the importance of it. Show them how simple it is, and the return on that investment with them is going to pay back 10 times over. That it's going to be worth their time.
Absolutely. Well said, man. All right, brother. Well, listen, if anybody, wants to share this, probably from YouTube is the best way to do so. I encourage you to support Rasheed. If you're not following him on Instagram already, find him at Phillips with one L, barbecue with a Q, co, at Phillips Barbecue Co. He's in the Atlanta area, pops up at breweries, which is why he can't have kids working for him right now. They would get a real education working at the brewery, right? But go out, try some of his food, support him so that he can keep supporting the community. And then definitely when he gets his brick and mortar, y'all better be there opening day.
Oh man, trust me. I hope you fly in, brother. I'm actually gonna need you there 2 days beforehand so we can get the cooks going.
Dude, I vow to you, when you open your first brick and mortar, I will fly in for the soft opening and the grand opening.
I'll take you on that. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, brother, man. I appreciate everything you're doing. Thanks for sharing your heart on Instagram and here on this platform. I love you, buddy. Take care.
Love you too, man. Thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate y'all. Rasheed's an awesome dude. Honestly, I sincerely mean it. Please support him and share this from YouTube or Facebook if you thought that there was some value in what you watched. And if nothing else, I hope you guys just enjoyed listening and just letting someone speak their heart. So I appreciate Rasheed once again. And I'm going to be going on tour starting Thursday across the country with Bert Kreischer, Shane Torres, and Jesus Trejo. So we will be doing these just sporadically. We might be able to squeeze one or two in this week. We might not squeeze any in. I might be able to do some from the road. So if I can do these, I have fun doing them. I'll do them when and if I can. But otherwise, please share this one and follow me on Instagram at Dave W Comedy if you're not already. And maybe I'll see you at a show in the next couple weeks. Have a great one.